Well guys, I never thought the day would arrive, but it is finally D-Day. And as you can see, right in front of us in exploded view, we've got the entire 2003 Suzuki Z400 laid out in 1,000 pieces. This is gonna be awesome. Now we're gonna take a closer look at all these parts in a second, but before we do, if you haven't seen this series in the beginning, I suggest you go back and check it out from the start. This thing was in really sad condition when we got it, and it will not do it justice to see the finished product until you see how it was when we first got it. So without further ado, let's have a closer look at these parts. Then we'll bring them inside again after spending an hour putting them out. Now before we even get started, I always get this question in the comments: how long did it take you to set up those parts? 40 minutes. I've gotten a pretty good system down, and it usually takes about an hour and a half, sometimes even more. So it's 40 minutes, and you'll notice a lot of these components, it's more together than normal. So we're gonna start with the engine. Man, this thing is absolutely beautiful. If you guys haven't seen the tutorial to build this thing, definitely check it out. You can see this thing being started from scratch, man. This thing looked like crap. Got a brand new radiator fan here. Got the wire harness there. Radiator, that's the original radiator. I refinished it. Got our coolant reservoir. And here is what the people wanted, man. It's what you guys wanted. We've got an OEM header, brand spanking new, and a brand new exhaust shield. That's from partzilla.com. All OEM stuff. OEM carburetor right from Partzilla. The other one was just, we couldn't make it work, man. And here is the NOS Suzuki Yoshimura. That thing is going to look perfectly era specific for this build. This is a drive chain, brand new from Suzuki. Pretty awesome, keeping it super OEM. We've got some radiator guards right here. Got Airbox right there, and I've got the Airbox components inside. A brand new OEM taillight. These are the shocks from the 2005. That'll be a nice upgrade. All that stuff is redone, so they look really, really good. And this is the shock from the 03. If you can believe it, that's the original shock, man. It came out so nice. And then over here is the axle. This is what I meant, like I tried to keep stuff together. It makes it easier for install and keeping things organized. Got those beautiful blue hubs on there. All original stuff. The axle is replaced. It was much more inexpensive to replace that axle than it was to zinc coat the original one. This is the carrier and swing arm from the 2005 donor machine. Vapor blasted, new bearings. I packed the bearings. You can see I've got all the bolts and stuff populated in this stuff, all the little stays and whatnot. Brand new bearings and everything. Got the linkage, all new bearings and everything. I redid all of that. Our A-arms, these are all OEM, man. Got brand new tie rods. Got a brand new steering stem. The old one was like pitted and rusted really bad. I felt like it was gonna fall apart on us. And we've got our hubs, our guards. We've got brand new handlebars, our dash assembly, which for some reason I just think is so cool. All of our brakes completely refinished. Our OEM clutch perch and parking brake calipers, our master cylinder. Here's our thumb throttle, all refinished. Even got a bearing in there. There's a video on that if you guys want to see it. And over here we've got some stays, we've got a shifter, our brake lever, our oil tank, all refinished. I even got a sticker that says 2,000 milliliters, the OEM sticker. We're gonna be putting on that. And then back here we've got the plastics, and I know somebody's gonna notice there's no decal on this one side. That's the bad fender. If you guys saw, had some issues with that. We're not gonna get into that. There's another one coming on the way. And then over here we've got our tires. The back tires have the bonnets right from Suzuki genuine parts, which for some odd reason, I just think that's so cool. So I left them on there. Everything came out really, really nice. They've got like a flat silver color, really keeping with the old school look. And then back here is the frame, but it looks so good. Got our tank up here, all refinished. Got a little bit of some polish that flew onto it, but it looks really good. Subframe back here. Man, all this stuff is gonna look so good when we get it together. All right, well, I guess since everybody went home for the day, I'm stuck taking all this stuff in on my own. Seriously though, we did get really lucky. It's starting to blow up out there, and it's supposed to rain for the next few days. So I was a little bit worried if we don't do this beginning scene, we can't shoot the finale video. So we definitely got lucky, and it's also like 7:45. It gets dark. I think sunset is like 8:10. So we just made it today, though. So as you can see, my organizational OCD is absolutely out of control, but it's going to be a good thing today. I've got laid out here what I'd like to get started with. I want to drop the engine in first. That's kind of my go-to thing. When you put the engine in the frame, it sort of as like an anchor, because when you start working on the frame, on the stand and everything wants to move around. The engine's heavy, it kind of weighs it down. The other thing I've done is I've gone around and put all of the hardware in place. So that actually took a good bit of time, especially because we're doing an OEM build. I didn't even know where half of these bolts went. All the motor mounts are in place. All the bolts were all good to go. So things should move pretty quickly. Famous last words, right? And who am I kidding? I'm sure we're gonna have some problems along the way, because it just wouldn't be the proper build if there weren't any problems. So I'm gonna get these motor mounts out of the way so that we can drop the engine in. Then I'm gonna lay a towel in here just so that when we drop our engine in, that's gonna be knocking around, it's real heavy. And this is gonna help protect our powder coat. The best method that I've gotten so far is just sitting the engine in here, and then if we line up the swing arm bolt first, then you can pivot the engine, lift it up, get the towel out, and you know what? I'll just show you. All right, let's see if we can do this without any casualties. Because with me, there's usually casualties. Okay, not too bad. Not as bad as the Raptor 660 engine was, gosh. That one was a real son of a bitch. But basically, we'll get this swing arm bolt started. This is gonna be coming back out, but again, it just kind of helps you pivot the engine around and get all the other mounting points lined up. If we can just get this in here, pretty easy. This Z400 is quickly becoming my favorite platform to work on. I've said that before in the beginning of a project though, and it didn't turn out too well. And now with the swing arm as a pivot point, we can lift the engine up, pull our towel out, and we're basically, the hard part is done, I think. Now we can get this lower motor mount by tilting up the engine, and we got two little spacers that go on here, and pretty much all of my bolts are gonna be getting anti-seize, especially on motor mount bolts, because I'm sure you guys have had motor mount bolts that they just don't freaking want to come out, they get seized. So it doesn't hurt to put a little bit of anti-seize right on your bolts. And I'm gonna put a little bit on the threads too, because these have self-locking nuts that go on here. So you can use anti-seize, you don't have to worry about the bolt backing off. And you'll notice I use quite a bit of anti-seize on my projects. I don't like getting stuff stuck. And I'm even taking note of which side of the frame that the bolt goes through. I'm consulting the OEM service manual because I want this thing to be as OEM as possible. We're gonna fit this little spacer in here. This might be a little tricky. Maybe I can get it from underneath. Oh wow, oh wow. I don't even have to lift the engine up barely. Just pretty much just a little bit. Got to get the spacer on the other side. Let's see if I can slip this bastard in here without too much trouble. Oh, not bad. There we go. I won't be tightening any of our motor mount bolts until all of them are in place. So basically we're just getting everything in place first. I just said that. All right, let's slide our linkage in place. I don't have to worry about anti-seize on this stuff because all of these bolts have grease zerks. So I'll be greasing them later on. Now, arguably one of my least favorite items to install is the frickin' swing arm. If you guys are familiar with my projects, you know these things have turned into nightmare situations. But in a perfect world, and with our preparation, maybe it will just go in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the swing arm bolt out now that we have the other motor mounts in place. And the swing arm should just fall right in place. I'm going to put some anti-seize on this. I'm gonna get my handy dandy dead blow in place. We'll put the swing arm bolt right here, just hanging so that it's ready to go. I feel like I deserve for this to go easy after some of the other horrible nightmare stories I've had with swing arms. But we shall see. A lot of times these get tight because the powder coating is thick. I might have to move this. Oh my gosh. Is this really happening? Wow. Not tooting my own horn, but that kind of never happens. Nice. All right, looks like I have to take the linkage off down here. The rear shock and linkage can be kind of tricky though sometimes. Doing it in the right order so that you can get to all the bolts and everything. Okay, now we do the lower shock mount. And I think this has to be tightened now because the linkage is actually going to block it. And then we should be able to drop this portion in place, like so, and put our bolt in. Now I kind of remember this oil tank being a pain in the ass to remove, so I want to get it installed early on. Now I can run this lower oil line in here. And yes, I will be going full-blown torque Nazi today. And we've got this little plastic skid plate that goes in place. Kind of fish it under here. And then it fits into a small groove in the front. And I've got two brand new Suzuki clips that hold this in place. Ooh, that was pretty satisfying. I think I can actually sneak up in our stand here and tighten our lower oil line bolt. All right, nice. And to make things super official, I've got this brand new decal that goes right on the oil tank. This is brand new from Suzuki Genuine Parts. Ordered this bad boy up on Partzilla, and it's gonna go right here on the oil tank. So I found this picture on eBay, and you can see right where that little sticker goes. So I'm gonna try to use this to place it where it needs to go. And from pictures in the service manual, it looks like it goes parallel with the frame rail right there. Yeah, it looks perfect. You've got to admit, man, the colors on the engine versus the contrast on the frame looks absolutely proper. I'm really digging the flat titanium blue up against the gloss candy blue. There were some people that said I should make the cam cover the same color as the frame, but when you have everything the same color, I feel like everything sort of meshes together. When you've got the contrast, especially the matte finish versus the gloss, I really think that sets things apart and makes, you know, different features stand out, and I really like that. Oil tank is 100% in there. I snuck in our top oil line that runs to the side of the engine, and I also put this little hose that goes to the cam cover. So our oil tank is all finished up. I want to move on to the radiator. I've got the radiator right here. This is the one from the 03. It's all finished up. I've got the bolts in place. All our thermostat, all that stuff is already in place. We do need to put on our coolant reservoir tank. This was missing from the 03, so that actually came from the 2005 donor quad. We've got all our hoses and everything. Everything is reconditioned with rubber conditioner. Got our original clamps. I put these in the ultrasonic cleaner, and they came out like brand new, which is awesome because these are $10 a piece from Suzuki, and we're keeping it OEM. So I'm really glad those cleaned up really nice. Got some new hose here that we're going to be running on the back, and I've also got a brand new fan, cage, and motor. So I was going to refinish the old one, and I was starting to refinish it. I actually have it in my eBay store. It came out pretty nice, but I wasn't able to put new zinc coating on the motor portion because it's a sealed unit, and you have to dunk that in a tank to zinc coat it. I just don't know that I was really going to be able to do that. I got a really good deal on this one. It came as a complete unit, plus it has new connectors and whatnot. Really, really nice. So let's go ahead and assemble that, and once we put it on the machine, it's going to be really nice routing the wires. The OEM service manual is awesome just for this purpose. Routing all the cables and whatnot, you can see it shows you where everything goes on the back of the radiator and everything. In fact, it has stuff for everything on this quad where all the cables and brake lines and everything gets routed. It's super helpful, especially if you're trying to make it just like it was from the factory. Okay, so let's take these little pinch nuts and put these in place. These are also the original pinch nuts. I had them refinished by Motoblast, and they're basically brand new now. They slide in place. So you have these little ridges here that keep these from spinning once they're in place. And I'll take our fan, lay that line up our holes. And I actually did not order these bolts, and I forgot to send them out for zinc. So the PSN bolt bag is coming in handy, man. These are the ones from the 2005 donor quad, and you can see the original zinc is still on there. They're in pretty good shape. So I'm okay using them for this. I think we'll be just fine. I'm gonna put a little bit of blue. This is the low strength Loctite from Suzuki. I'm gonna put this on all of them because the fan might vibrate a little bit, and we don't want the fan coming loose. I'm just gonna snug these down with a hand wrench. And over here we've got the coolant reservoir. And for this hardware, I've got a little bit of anti-seize on here. And if you're wondering why we've got anti-seize on these and over here we've got Loctite, generally if we're going aluminum onto steel or steel onto aluminum, I will put anti-seize because steel and aluminum, the aluminum oxidizes and the bolt will end up getting seized. So you've got a steel bolt and aluminum radiator. That's why I'm going with anti-seize for these. Then we've got our hose that runs over the fan and onto a little barb up at the top here. Just putting a little bit of lubricant on there, kind of helps it slide in place. Then we've got two little hose guides down here. This top overflow goes right like that. And then we've got one more hose to make that's going to run to it's a little breather for the fan that crosses over and runs through here. Okay. Man, this is a pretty hefty unit going in here. That's what she said. But we'll just slide this in place. But seriously, it is like, this thing is pretty clunky. So just another reason to get it knocked out first. I've got my hardware on hand. All right, let's get our steering stem fished in here. This is a brand new. If you're ever replacing one of these, there are differences amongst the years. I think the 03 is the only one. It looks like this. This better go in here. I maybe did I put the oil tank in too soon? I don't know. I might actually have to move the oil tank, which seems like it's not a big deal, but to move the oil tank, we have to take the oil line off, and to take the oil line off, we have to take the oil tank guard off. So it's just like subtracting a bunch of our work that we did, but we might just have to. Oh, son of a bitch. I'm sure there was somebody watching this video, a Z400 guy that was watching, that was just like, oh man, wait till he goes to put the steering stem in. But I did want to show, you can, because I know, some people, they might just be changing out their steering stem. You can get the steering stem in and out by unbolting the oil tank and the radiator, because that's the thing. It's like, I was going to take the oil tank out, but then with the stem in there, you couldn't get the oil tank back in. So it's like, do I have to take the radiator out too? But if you take those two bolts off, and of course the lower oil line, which doesn't really suck for me, but if you had oil in there, that would kind of suck. But if you push that all back slightly, you can get the stem in place. So I'll bolt that stuff back up and we'll continue on. All right, let's get this stem locked down. Might as well get our handlebars in place while we're at it. These are new aftermarket. A subscriber had given me a nice set of handlebars, or so I thought anyways, and I pulled the grips off, and underneath they were rotted. So unfortunately I had to replace it. Luckily, I didn't realize they make these aftermarket bars really inexpensive. I think it was 50 bucks shipped. And I mean, they're steel handlebars. How do you mess that up? Although, I don't know. Some stuff from China, not good. All right, let's get our brake lines in place. If you guys remember, I was able to save these little clips. This will pop in right here. Brake line comes over the top. Then up top, we've got this rubber grommet that pops in here. Then we've got these radiator guards. These were completely missing. Where the hell do these damn things go on here? Then we've got, they clip onto the frame. I guess they just snap in place like that. I may have to take these off to get, you know, other things on, but I think we're good. All right, let's do our handlebars. I'm gonna lower our stand down, make it a little bit easier for us. And this stand is awesome for working on machines. Mine's a little bit modified so that it can go quite a bit heavier. But even the factory one that you can get right from Rocky Mountain ATV, I'll have that linked in the description below. It's pretty handy. Now I've got brand new Suzuki genuine grips. These are right from partzilla.com. I've never installed factory OEM grips before. In fact, I've pretty much converted to lock-ons because they're just so much easier. But I couldn't find anything in the service manual for installing these, like a grip glue or anything that Suzuki uses. I don't know if they just put them on there. They might not even use any glue. Shit, I don't know. But the technique that I used to use was the clear spray paint method. Works really good, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that method. And these are, they're through grips, so there's actually a counterweight that's gonna go on the end. So I'll just spray some spray paint on there, slide it on over right about to the end, and we'll just call it a day. You don't need much. This stuff gets real tacky. It helps the grip slide on there, and then it'll dry, and it holds the grip really nice. There's no marking on these, so I'm just gonna put the seam in the middle on both sides. Now for this side, the switch set is kind of an unfortunate design. You have to slide it on. So if you had to get this off, you would have to take the damn grip off. So if you have a Z400, the clamp-on grip is definitely the way you want to go, because then you could slide your grip off and slide it back on. So before we put the grip on, we're going to put this on. This is an aftermarket switch set. I'll have this linked in the description below. You know, I haven't tested it yet, but it feels really nice. It's like heavy duty. The switches have a really nice positive feel. The choke system feels good. I've got a brand new OEM cable already hooked up on there, and it fit into the body really nice. So the aftermarket fit with the OEM, and it seems to be good. So kind of a pain in the ass getting this little choke system set up, but what are you gonna do, you know? Going OEM, you have to do it. So this should slide on. It has a little, there's a little hole that we've got to line up right here. So if you have aftermarket bars, you'd probably have to open this switch set up and grind the little, there's like a tab in here that's gonna pop into that. Okay, there, now it's in there. Get this stinking rubber boot on. This really is just an unfortunate design. Pain in my ass. Okay, we are now locked in place. That's not going anywhere. It does feel really nice though. Very satisfying. All right, now we can put this other grip on. Then we got these friggin' counterweights that go on here. I remember seeing these on the Lakota when I did those. I think they help with vibration in the handlebars. Just excess weight if you ask me. But we're gonna pop these in here. I already assembled them. This is the original stuff. I had it zinc coated by Moto Blast. Brand new rubbers on here, and it's a Phillips head or a JIS. So I think these just pop in here, and then as you tighten them, the little piece of rubber expands, I think. And that should hold them in place. I honestly don't know if I did that right, but it feels good and tight, so if it falls out on the trail, don't blame me. Now we can throw our freshly finished anyways, front master cylinder. If you guys didn't see on the extra channel, we did refinish it on there. This thing looks freaking beautiful. And our thumb throttle, we also did this on the other channel. I did a little bit of a custom mod. I've got a roller bearing or needle bearing in there to give it, oh shit, to give it a little bit more of a smooth action. Nice. Then we've got our brand new pre-owned clutch perch. This thing was actually a lot of work restoring, doing all the little stuff for the parking brake and everything. Usually all that stuff gets deleted and I put an aftermarket lever on because it's so much more simple. But for the OEM, man, this thing is going to be awesome. We might as well finish off the dash. This is all brand new with the exception of the key, and even the key, I've got a brand new Suzuki boot on there. This thing looks beautiful. I put the new Suzuki decal on there. This thing is going to be awesome. Definitely giving it the OEM look, man. Really, there's nothing more that says OEM than these little plastic dash things. Usually, a lot of times these things get thrown to the wayside. This quad didn't have one when I got it. If you remember, it had one of those aftermarket ones on it. But the Suzuki one just looks so legit. Dude, that is so cool. And one last thing to wrap off our controls, I've got brand new levers. If you guys saw the videos where we did the controls on the extra channel, these levers have a little bit of slop in them, so I just went ahead and replaced them. Partzilla was kind enough to send these over brand new in the Suzuki box. Man, I just think that's awesome. This one came in a bag, but I'm gonna go ahead and swap those out on my own, and we're gonna move on to the carburetor after that. Dude, this feels stock. My gosh, is this giving me nostalgic feelings of sitting in the dealership as a kid. Freaking awesome, man. Okay, let's do our carburetor. I've got a brand new, genuine Suzuki. Well, it's a Mikuni, but this is the OEM carburetor. Ordered this right from Partzilla, so this is the Suzuki part, I guess you would call it. I decided not to go with an aftermarket. You guys have probably seen in the past, I have had success with the aftermarket carburetors. I've learned they're hit or miss, man. Some of them work absolutely perfect. Other ones, you can't tune them for shit, man. So really for reliability, I think anymore, I'm gonna try to go OEM unless we're doing like experimentation or something. But for this build, I definitely wanted to go OEM. Obviously way more expensive than the aftermarket ones, but you really do get what you pay for. I've got it came with the factory jets, which is like a 130 main. Really small, dude. These things barely use any fuel. We're only running the slip-on, and I'm going to leave the airbox lid on. We're not doing power mods and stuff. I understand you take the airbox lid off, and it'll breathe a lot more and stuff, but I think I would probably jet it up like one size. And I don't have the jet with me, so we're going to run the 130. It should be okay, at least for the first start. And then later on, we can jet it up if we need to. Probably like literally just one size. And then over here, there's this little oil tank. Gets one bolt. Got a little bit of blue Loctite on it. I'm just going to snug that in place. This thing has a bunch of tubes running to it. It's almost time to start wiring this thing up. I want to put the subframe on first because there's some wires that are going to run to the back, like for the taillight and stuff. The silver subframe is what would have come from the factory. And all of these bolts, all of these bolts are getting green Loctite. I had a friend when I was younger that had an 03 Z400, and we used to take it to Breezewood Proving Grounds. It's a motocross track out in like central PA, I guess. And this subframe freaking snapped off because his bolts came loose. So the manual recommends the green thread lock, which is the high strength from Suzuki. I guess the powder coat is just a little too thick for these bolts to fit through. It must be a really tight tolerance. You know, this is an 05 frame and an 03 subframe. I think they actually upsized the bolt, and that's probably why the 05 frame has a little bit of a bigger bolt. So I actually had to drill those out a little bit. It wasn't just the powder coating, but that's an upgrade anyways. So I'm happy to do that. Let's get our taillight on. This is a brand new OEM, and this is the original stay on the back. That like kind of greenish olive green color, it's actually black zinc. It just comes out a little bit kind of like uneven. And I've got brand new little cushions in there and everything. All that stuff is brand new OEM. Line this up. Then we've got our fender brackets get stacked on top. Or do they? I'm not sure which way it goes.
1 hour later.
If you can believe it, I just spent 45 minutes trying to figure out if these brackets go on top of the rear brake light stay or underneath like this. I finally found it. There was a picture in the service manual. It's kind of hard to see because the pictures are black and white and they're dark. I couldn't find any pictures online. I found a couple, but they were of like modified quads, so you don't know if it was taken off and then put back on. I even checked my video tearing this thing down, and it does go this way with the brackets on top. However, I feel that it would be better to put it underneath because there's more surface area and I just think it's going to be more solid. It's really bothering me because I want to put everything back together just like it was OEM, but I just think, oh man, this shouldn't be a big deal at all. Oh, what the hell, we'll put it on the way that it came from the factory. All right, so almost an hour to install the taillight because that's normal. So let's go ahead and get our airbox in here. We've got our intake boot and we'll drop the box in place. If you can believe it, this is the box that came off. Got it all reconditioned and it actually looks pretty good. On this side, the CDI fits between the frame and the airbox. I've even got a brand new little plug for the bottom and a brand new OEM clip. All this stuff OEM. Check this out. I've even got an OEM air filter that we're going to put on this thing. Really keeping it original. Look at that. It's actually got the Suzuki emblem on there. That's pretty awesome. Okay. Then we've got a brand new airbox lid right from Suzuki. It's already got a new grommet in there. And even these clips I had ZINC coated by Motoblast. So that airbox looks basically brand new. And then we've got this breather. Goes in here. This was missing. So was the boot that's back here. I ordered the boot brand new from Partzilla, and this tube came from the donor quad from Power Sports Nation. And now we're good. I just have to tighten up all our clamps. Oh man, we're pretty close to first start time. We got to get our exhaust in place. We've got a brand new header here with a brand new exhaust shield. If we can fish this through here. Hope so anyways. That would suck if we can't get this through, but I think we'll be okay. Suzuki would not design this so that you can't change the exhaust. I don't think so anyways. I think I might have to take this one radiator line off. A lot of times these exhaust systems seems like they just won't fit, but you have to, it's almost like a puzzle. You have to get them just right and then they'll fit, but I think we might have to take off our little duct up here. That's easy. It's just 2 bolts. We don't have any fluid in there now, so easy enough to do. I do like to try to install or remove things without taking a bunch of stuff off first though, because that way, you know, if we do put like a different header on here or something, I know that there's a procedure so that you don't have to tear things down. All right, now we should be able to get this bastard in here. Fish it through the back first. And we're close. Okay, we're in. We're in. All right, and I do have a new exhaust gasket in there. Slide up our clamp. I've got 2 brand new nuts. Some new nuts. And yes, there is anti-seize on these studs because if you've ever had exhaust nuts get stuck, it can be a really bad day. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the Suzuki genuine OEM Yoshimura exhaust. Oh, you need this first. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the Suzuki genuine parts Yoshimura exhaust from 2006. Oh man, this is going to be awesome. This actually does look pretty freaking awesome. I'm really glad that we decided to go with the old school exhaust instead of the newer Yoshimura. Here is the clamp. I've got the piece of rubber in there, and look at this, dude. The original condom. This is probably, it says this was made in 2006, man. This is like a real treat, being able to pull this off. Nobody likes condoms anyways. Well guys, I think we're officially now building a Z400. If that's not an iconic looking exhaust, I don't know what is. It is just so old school, man. I can remember looking at these things in magazines and whatnot. We definitely made the right decision going with the OEM header, the OEM exhaust shield, and the OEM Yoshimura slip-on exhaust. It looks so right. Definitely looks like something that hopped out of 2003, and it goes perfectly with the throwback design that we're going for. Even with the tiny little spark arrestor in here, it looks so cool. We're gonna leave that in there initially. We'll probably pop it out afterwards, but since we don't have the jets or anything, we're just gonna roll with it. So now I've got all of these cables and everything. They're hanging all over the place, man. We've got so many connectors to do. You can see them down here by the stator. We've got our CDI, all that stuff. Over here, we've got more connectors and whatnot. So I've got a lot of wiring to do. Over here, I've got a brand new wire harness. I've got some battery wires and all these cables and everything. We've got brand new, genuine Suzuki parts here. We've got, I think this is a clutch cable right here. We've got the reverse cable right here, our coil, and stuff like that. So that can be kind of monotonous work. So I will be following along in the service manual, making sure that everything is routed properly. This thing really is a godsend. I did notice when I was looking at this, you can see this is the dash right here. If you see it over top of the steering stem, those are the bar clamps and stuff. I saw this hose here. I was like, what the heck is that? And I actually have it right here. It's a breather that goes on the underside of the plastic dash. So without the service manual, I would never even know that this goes under there. So I will pop that off and put it in place. Doing all of that little stuff is really meticulous and it's super boring. So I'm gonna do that on my own and then I'll catch up with you guys after.